Our state has some incredible problems. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. I'm here to talk about that with you and talk about the trends that have shaped this state and dragged us in one direction or another. We're not really we're not realizing the dream we had way back in the early 2000s or even around 2008 or 9 or 10. My name is Lynn Hinderaker. Welcome to WowBiz Nebraska. We're going to get it on right now. Do you feel like your company is in transition? Are you personally in transition? We're going to talk about that here today on WowBiz Nebraska. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. Thanks for tuning in. There's so much to discuss with you. And believe me, all business people, but especially these days, are increasingly aware of their inner reality as well as their external reality, whether sales are up, whether business is up, profitability, all that kind of stuff. But they're also increasingly aware of how they're feeling about work these days, their role, whether their self-image is still solid, they still feel confident about who they are. But that's changing, and because of the time that we're going through right now. So I just want to let you know this is an exciting show and a little bit unusual. By the way, before I go any further, and I have a great story for you that relates back to transition, procrastination, and the strategies that are appropriate at that time. But I have to pick up this beautiful picture here called 90 Minutes to Take Off, as you can see. And you'll see this is the cover of a book that's been blown up, of course, and it has to do with innovation. And innovation is so important, especially in the state of Nebraska, by the way. But increasingly, I'm told by people, don't talk about innovation. Business people don't want to get into it. They're a little embarrassed. They don't do it very often. They don't know how to go about doing it correctly. Many times they don't have the right people to implement a new product rollout or a new development, some kind of a new process, maybe a new leadership style or whatever. So they're a little uncomfortable when I keep bringing up innovation. But I do want to share one thing to you. And of course, in the world of business, everything is about logic, right? 2 + 2 = 4 and all that kind of stuff, engineering, science, etc. But what you'll see increasingly in an attempt to kind of stand out and talk about the experience and how an experience with your company or your product, how it feels to consume your product. That leads us down to this piece of art in the middle of this book cover right here. And you can see this is abstract expressionism, obviously, very beautiful image. Can't really figure out if you're heading left or right when you look at this image. You know there's movement there. It's kinetic, certainly, but it's a little difficult knowing which direction your eyes and the person that's reading this is going. It's very exciting, and I do want to encourage you, if you're really serious about moving the needle, think about art just as much as you think about science and data and words and logic. All right, my name again, Lynn Hinderaker, and I have a great story for you. It doesn't have a natural ending. It leads to today. It leads to where we're at right now. 30 years ago, my family and I were driving from Omaha, Nebraska, going east, of course, over to Des Moines, Iowa. We have some relatives over there, and at the time, my son, who at that time was 11 years of age, he's over 40 now, 42, I think, but he was in the back seat, of course, and we're driving along on I-80 going east, and all of a sudden I hear the following sounds. Something like that. That wasn't a real good imitation of a flat tire, but we had a flat tire on the interstate. Now, this was a very troublesome thing. It was obviously concerned me a great deal. I didn't quite know how to proceed. I know that we had a spare tire, but I wasn't so sure that we had a jack to get the car up. So anyway, I got out of the car and opened the trunk, and I'm looking around back there trying to figure out, do I have what I need to change the tire? And of course, my son was with me. He got out to see what Dad's working on. And as it turned out, unfortunately, we did not have a jack. We had a tire, but we didn't have a jack. Now, that puts us in a really uncomfortable position, as you can imagine. And I looked at him and he looked at me and I said, maybe, and I looked across the way. And as you know, back out there in the area where the interstate operates, we have a wide, shallow ditch. We see it on both sides of the interstate. That's the very common thing. And so there's a lot of grass there and weeds, of course. And then the ditch kind of came up, as you know, and there's a fence, right? There's a fence. On the other side is a field, and then it goes on from there. Now, as I'm glancing across here, I see a farmhouse quite a ways away, maybe, I would say maybe a half a mile or so on the other side of a field. So I thought to myself, I said, maybe we can go over there and get a jack from them, borrow a jack from them, and get the tire changed, and then, of course, take the jack back to to whoever owns the house way over there. Well, anyway, okay, that seemed like a decent idea. So my son and I walked down into the ditch, and we walked and we came right up. Now, if you come from the farm or you've been close enough to the fence to see what typically there are a barbed wire fence horizontally strung across the top of a fence, a wire fence. This is the common way that things are done out in that area. And I grew up on the farm. I grew up with these kinds of fences. It wasn't a big deal. And I thought, well, we'll just have to climb over the fence and get over on the other side there, and we'll go over to the farmhouse and find out what's possible. So I take it easy, and I get my feet in the holes there, and I begin to climb up over this wire, this wire fence, and I get up towards the top. And again, as many of you might know, there are these barbed wires, and you have to put your hand down on the horizontal wires there and kind of push down, kind of compress them so you can lift your leg over and get over these barbed wires, not scratch yourself, of course, and then kind of pull your left leg over and then kind of push away from the fence. I don't know if you've lived in the city, you probably don't know what I'm talking about, but you can get the general idea. And so I did that, and I had my son over here. He's looking at me while I'm going over the fence, right? He's wondering, oh my God, look at this. I've got Dad doing this, So I got over and I pushed away, and sure enough, I landed on the grass in the field on the other side there. No big deal, by the way, for me, because I'd done this many times. However, my son, who was a city boy, had never done this kind of thing. And so I said, Ryan, come on, let's go. Here you go. I'll help you over, And so he cautiously approached the fence and began trying to get his feet in the holes and climb up here a little bit, and I'm encouraging him, of course, as he gets closer and closer to the top. I said, be careful now. Put your hand on the wire there. Get it between the wires so you don't cut yourself. He was very sensitive, of course, to that, worried about that. And he got up there, and he was halfway there. Let's put it that way. And I said, all right, now get your leg over. Get your leg over, son. And sure enough, I said, I'm holding it down now so you can get it over. Sure enough, he slowly gets his leg over the top of the fence. So we had one leg on one side of the fence, one leg on the other side, just so you understand. So there he was, and I'm holding the wire. And I look at him, and he looks at me. And he says, Dad, and of course this wire does move. It's difficult to get it to be steady. It kind of goes back and forth, and it's a little scary in that way. And he looks down at me, from the fence, and he says, Dad, I can't do this, Dad. I can't make it. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it, Dad. He was really scared. And I don't blame him. He'd never done anything like that at all. And he didn't want that rusty barbed wire cutting his leg for obvious reasons. And so I want to stop the little story right here and make a point that I think is reasonable. It's metaphorical, it's symbolic. And that is, so many companies are attempting to, I'd say, utilize AI, for instance. Maybe one great example, but there are many other things. They're trying to get over to the other side, the other side of business productivity, the other side of business efficiency. They want to move forward smoothly and get new customers and all that, and do some new things, have some maybe new marketing or whatever, have a new leadership style, maybe some new ads, whatever it is, but they want to kind of get over it and get over this hump because they're scared, right? They're scared. This is an era of uncertainty in some ways. However, there are a lot of people, by the way, there are companies that would say, yeah, you go ahead and be hesitant, procrastinate. That would be really good. Go ahead and do that, right? Because they are ready to grab your market share, and you're not aware of that. You don't necessarily produce measurements every quarter, so you may not even be sensitive to the fact that you have competitors that are waiting for you to slow down, do little or nothing, and just wait for the economy to somehow lift you up so that everything feels okay again and you can move forward in a normal, natural way. But anyway, that's what's going on. My son was stuck on top of the barbed wire fence, and that's exactly where your company and many of the companies you know about, they're stuck on top of the barbed wire fence as well. They're afraid if they move the wrong direction, it'll cost them somehow. They'll get scratched from a financial point of view. It's a very interesting metaphor. And I want to just point this out to you that more often than not, you will scratch your inside thigh, so to speak, or financially hurt yourself by doing nothing bold, nothing exciting, nothing new, nothing fresh, nothing innovative, no change at all. Let's just hang in there. What got us here will probably get us out of here. We'll just hang on. It should be okay. Now, that's especially true, by the way, for small companies. Really true. Now, if you're a medium-sized firm, we'll just go on with the metaphor, right? If you're a medium-sized firm, this is what it looks like. This is what you're doing symbolically. This is how it is. How are we doing? Somebody tell me. Are we okay? Should we go this way? What? I don't see anybody, right? This is how many companies that are medium-sized, they don't know how to invest in the future either. They kind of know they should be going forward, but they don't know what direction, and it's very difficult. Now, if you're a big company, that's a whole different analogy that I'm talking about. Here's what's happening if you're a big company. You're yelling at somebody to turn on the lights. Get those lights back on so we know exactly where we're at. You guys, this is your fault. This is your problem. You guys over there, get over there, figure it out, right? Make it easy for me, the boss. Make it easy for me. We got to move forward now. We can't be bothered by uncertain prognostications, et cetera, et cetera. We got to go, whether you like it or not. And if it doesn't work out for you, y'all might be fired. Yeah. All right. So that's how it goes. We never did get a tire changed, so to speak, but nevertheless, the analogy I think is pretty obvious, and I would encourage you to get over the barbed wire fence. Don't let it become a hindrance psychologically. And we're going to talk more about psychology and the psyche, so to speak. Some very deep stuff coming up right after this particular event, right after this promotional segue. Right. So thank you so much for watching us here at WowBiz Nebraska. My name is Lynn Hinderaker, and this is a heck of a show. It's an unusual show. I have so many things to share with you. I'm not even sure what direction to go in that way. But I do want to say this. You need to know about something that has been introduced recently in the Nebraska state market, and that is Nebraska Now. Not Nebraska Now, which, by the way, is I think it's a course at UNO, and Preston Love Jr. is utilizing this phrase, Nebraska Now, and so on. But that's not what this is at all. This is Nebraska Now, okay? And this is a very interesting ecosystem. This is a business ecosystem. Now think for a second about what an ecosystem is. You all know that. If you've been standing near a pond sometime in your past, and you see little bugs and you see little birds up above, and maybe some worms on the tree over there, and the leaves are deteriorating and they have something coming off of them, and everything is feeding on everything else, isn't it? Huh? That's what an ecosystem is. And that's how in our state, especially business owners, can also be part of a very constructive and helpful ecosystem by working with other people. Some of those people need help. They need inside scoop. They need some advice. No problem. Happy to give you some advice here. I've got 15 or 20 minutes. Go ahead and lay it on me. How can I be of value to you? Right here. We're both members of Nebraska Now. I'm pleased to be involved with it. So how can I help you, man? Right? The next day, I could use a little advice over there in your market. We're trying to sell over there, and I don't think I have any progress. Do you know anybody that we can talk to? Maybe we can get inside and make some sales over there in your community. Any thoughts about that? Sure. I've heard of them before. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. I'm so so grateful that you're a member of the ecosystem, and I'll tell the leaders that you made a nice contribution here today, et cetera, et cetera. Now, an ecosystem from Nebraska Now isn't just sharing ideas and advice and feedback, although that's very helpful, but it's also coming together. I got to tell you, I'm so sick and tired of these Zoom meetings, because you may learn something, right? But you're never going to meet any of those people that are also showing up on the screen. You just go, I don't know who those guys are, and they don't know me, right? And that's no good, right? Your network is fundamental to your identity and your ability to influence in the marketplace. So you don't have any relationships unless you talk to them straight up, and somebody introduces you and you stand up in front of a small group of people and say, this is who we are, this is what we believe in, this is what we're all about, this is what we're struggling with, come talk to me, vice versa, etc. So just please remember that the face-to-face interaction is not done. It's not over. It may be a little inconvenient. You have to get in the car and come somewhere in the eastern Nebraska area, or maybe all over the state eventually. And we will be facilitating. And finally, so important, when I talk to chambers and say, what about people in your companies in your neighborhood, and if they need help, and how do they create value, and so on, and they go, I don't know. We don't. I don't have any clue about that. That's not our gig, right? So there are 45,000 businesses around the state of Nebraska with employees, and most of them could use a little bit of help, right? Strategic value, insight, product development, new product rollouts. This is huge. Office environment. How do we get them back in the office, or does that matter? I don't know. I gotta tell you, there's a lot of people that need a lot of help in the state of Nebraska right now, and nobody seems to really get it or know how to step into the trouble. But we are educators, we are facilitators, we bring information together, and we share it here, all across the state, and we're excited about that. So, Nebraska Now, check it out. It's a fascinating organizational platform and structure, and you may want to be a member of Nebraska Now. That's right, Nebraska Now. Okay, wonderful. Well, just a few things that have come up here, and I mentioned it to you a little bit earlier, so I'm going to talk about it just briefly. I'm telling you, this is about 10% of what I really wanted to get into and talk about. But we talked about transition. Everything's in transition. People feel technology is putting a lot of us in transition. We just feel like there's so much change going on around us, right? And so what happens is we play the game that we know how to play. We don't play any other game. And privately, you ask your spouse, you say, is there anything else to this that I should be doing? I think I'm missing something. All right. So I'm going to give you the big picture, right? Now, in one case, you may be unhappy, and you'll be unhappy in every one of these, I think. In the first case, you just don't know. You're not really comfortable with a business anymore. You're not comfortable with your position and so on. And so you just don't know what to do. And so we're going to tell you that the key there is acceptance. You have to learn to accept yourself, learn the company. Just instead of fighting it all, try to embrace acceptance, all right? Now there's another way to come at all of this, and that is action. And when it's action, that's this mode that you're in, what you're really doing then is reinventing yourself. That's your opportunity, is to reinvent yourself. And that will make you happier. You'll rethink, what do I really believe in? What do I stand for? I'm not this, I'm not that. I don't know how I ended up doing that, right? I'm this. That's really more of what I'm all about, right? And then finally, there's a third category, and this is really powerful. This is really deep for a business show in particular, but there is what I would call transformation, rebirth, so to speak. And that's when you step back from everything in your life and say, is this it for me? Is this it for me? Is this my motivation? Is this where I'm belong, right? And you just kind of have to ask these deep questions, because if you don't, you'll be unhappy the rest of your career, right? Now, going back to the reinventing yourself, that's my favorite one, because I think a lot of people are there. They are wondering if they should reinvent themselves. Maybe they go on to another company and look for a different kind of a job and so on. But here's an interesting exercise if you kind of feel that you're there, and that is, ask yourself, pull out paper after paper and your marker and your pen, and ask, why am I unique? Why am I unique? What's unique about me, right? And start writing, write all the way, right? And then when you get to the end of that exercise, then you can create, or at least think seriously about creating, your personal brand. Your personal brand. When you walk down the streets and somebody says, hey, do you know Harry over there? No, I don't know. Who's he? Well, he's really into analysis, and he likes to analyze everybody who's around him. He's really pretty good at it, and it's very insightful to kind of hang out with him. He's almost like an informal psychotherapist. Oh yeah, that's really interesting. Now, when you get to the very end, I mentioned all too, there's three segments in your life that you're going to go through, right? And this last one I mentioned to you, transformation, rebirth, yeah. And so what it really comes down to is giving up pride, right? And that's a long ways away from the first one, where you're kind of cultivating pride, you're kind of building yourself up. And then you get over here into the third column, so to speak, or the third dimension of your life, and now you have to give up your pride, right? And there is a constant question. It's the last thing that you think about before you go to sleep at night, and that is, what is the meaning of my life? Now, we're doing some kind of interesting focus groups in North and South Omaha, and this particular topic comes up again and again. What is the value and the meaning of your life? Now, if you can get this worked out, and I think I have personally, but I think it's a big issue that everybody has to keep returning to, you'll feel much more comfortable with yourself. And what you will find out is that we all have like parts of us. There's multiple people inside of all of us. There really are. It's almost like an orchestra, all playing different notes and so on, and many times not playing the same song. But I'm just saying that the concept is to realize that you have different parts of you inside of yourself. It's a big idea, and when you get to this point in your life, these components, these individual personalities must come together. They must come together. They blend into a pattern that you can look at and stand back and see all of them inside of you. That's really weird, but it's an exciting idea and something that's worth considering as we go forward. By the way, I'm going to skip over here real quick before we wrap up our show. You've all heard of the War Horse Casino that's related to the Ho-Chunk development group and so on. And down on 63rd and Q Street in Omaha, you'll see there's the casino down there, lots of activity, lots of action. And I just want to tell the people at Ho-Chunk and at the development there of the War Horse gaming operation, there are going to be a group of people that will be fanatics. They'll want to come every day, every week, and they're going to be regulars, and they're going to spend a lot of money over time. And so what you should do, and I say you, the people that are running the War Horse gaming operation, is you need to find some form of transportation, and you're going to see where I'm at here, that is regular, that you can come in and you'll know it's going to be there every day at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, et cetera, right? And so this would be an incredible opportunity for your organization. This is called Van Gogh, right? This is called the Van Gogh. You can understand why. The artist Vincent van Gogh in France painted this particular style, but it would make a lot of sense and make a lot of money to the people that own that casino there at 63rd and Q, that they pick up something similar to the Van Gogh vans and work with a marketing firm and make sure that people are jumping into these vans almost daily and getting over there and dropping some money at the casino. Don't forget about the opportunity there with transportation. Absolutely. Finally, I'm going to show you real quick. There's a lot of issues with workforce here in the state of Nebraska. Whole bunch of HR people that are uncomfortable. They can't get these people to show up on time. Many of them quit frequently. They don't get along sometimes. There's conflict. The managers don't like them, etc. There's a new product that's out there, kind of a system called Future Force. This includes a lot of psychology, a lot of coaching, and so on and so forth. Could be very interesting and helpful to HR departments as we go forward with all the, particularly skilled labor, by the way. All right. Well, again, thank you so much. We've kind of crammed a lot of material in here, and we've had to leave some things out. But my name is Lynn Hinderaker with WowBiz Nebraska. We've been doing this for many years now, I guess. We're grateful that you're watching. And please make sure that you refer your friends and neighbors to the show and let them benefit from the special insights, the education, and the enormous amount of experience that accrues, kind of comes together, blends, as we used the word a little bit earlier before, and gives people a sense of hope and excitement about the future. That's right. All right, well, thank you so very much. We appreciate the time and energy you've given us. We'll see you next week, and again and again and again. I'm Lynn Hinderaker. Thanks for watching.